Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start today's video with a spicy tale of culinary justice served up with a dash of capsaicin. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, smash the like if you enjoy the content, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a juicy story. Some like it hot. I taken an R&D internship for a food company over the summer in Keokuk, the armpit of Iowa for those unfamiliar. For housing accommodations, the company had set me up in the local college dorm that was previously a retirement home, so it basically had individual rooms and bathrooms, but one large commercial kitchen. It was summer and the school didn't have a summer program, but allowed 2 fall students to move in at the beginning of the summer. One was rarely there, but the other was constantly in the building and oftentimes had multiple friends over. Given the kitchen setup, we all stored our food there, and it's a pretty no-brainer that you shouldn't take from others, but immediately I had various food items going missing or being consumed regularly, sodas, empty boxes of cereal put back on the shelf, etc. I initially posted a sign on the fridge to not eat others' food and also confronted both about having food go missing after the sign was up, but it didn't stop whomever was stealing my food, particularly when I head out of town for weekends. After complaining about the situation to my manager during my job, they helped formulate the perfect revenge. Given I was doing R&D work on food products, I was responsible for getting various ingredient samples to use for new recipes. My manager suggested I get some capsaicin extract for my research, even though we weren't doing anything in that realm for flavor profiles. Well, I found a company that had various Scoville unit extracts and asked for a variety to see what worked best for our applications. Well, did they deliver with some small 2-ounce bottles of 50K, 100K, and 250K Scoville extracts. I ended up putting the 250K in a travel-size spray bottle, mixed with some water to help as a carrier, and wearing gloves and a mask, borrowed from work, doctored the common food items being stolen with a liberal spraying of my mixture, mainly cereal, chips, crackers, jug of milk, and the lip/top of a few soda cans. For the snacks, I actually put some into a separate bag and left them open to dry before mixing back into the original packaging. I did this in a different dorm room in my wing, as I know well enough how potent this can be in enclosed spaces. I did this right before another trip out of town, and when I returned, I found some of the chips and cereal and milk was missing, plus 2 of the 3 cans of soda I'd doctored. I never got to see the result, and no one ever said anything, but none of my food went missing for the remaining month of my stay. I hope the experience was enlightening for them and they still remember the time they played with fire. Hopefully it left a lasting impression, and maybe a bit of a burn on the food thieves, teaching them to think twice before swiping someone else's snacks. And our second story. Why won't you let my kids harass your pets? You're so selfish. Welcome to another episode of My Boyfriend's Cousin is an Entitled A-Hole. The events of this post happened in the spring of 2018. My boyfriend and I went to his parents' place to spend the weekend, and we took our pets with us. My cat and 2 dogs and his cat and dog. We were just sitting around chatting, laughing with his parents and sister when BF's cousin came over unannounced with her 3 kids in tow. This was the second or third time I was meeting this woman and the first time I was around her kids. BF's mom asked cousin if everything was okay. She just smiled and said, "Oh, cousin's husband will be out of town for the weekend, so I thought I'd come over here with the kids." They were getting bored. I suppose it didn't cross her mind to call first. Then she saw me and commented, "Oh, I see your new girlfriend is here too." BF's parents tried to introduce me to her kids. I'm guessing between the ages of 6 and 10 at the time, but they just ran off to watch TV. That's fine, no biggie. We all tried to make small talk, even as the television was turned on at a deafening volume. My BF's dad had to tell them to turn it down. After we had lunch is when trouble started. My dogs and cat had been asleep when cousin and her kid came in, but now they were up and having a little snack and were noticed by these said kids. They instantly demanded that they be allowed to play with them. Now, my pets are not used to being around kids, and I didn't want them to be harassed, so of course I said no. But apparently these kids have never heard the word no before. The oldest one, a boy, kept trying to pick up my cat, who jumped up on my lap for protection. The middle one, a girl, tried to grab one of my dog's ear, and the youngest, a boy, tried to climb on my other dog's back. All of this happened within a span of no more than 5 seconds. I decided to raise my voice a little and told them to leave my pets alone. They looked shocked, and the youngest one began to cry. The others, BF, his parents, her sister, and cousin, were in the next room and came running when they heard the commotion. The kids, who was crying, went bawling to his mommy and told her how I was being mean. The other two said they wanted to play with the dogs and cat and that I wouldn't let them. Cousin decided to get in my face and asked how dare I yell at her kids. I told her to calm down and that she needed to teach her kids some manners and how to interact with animals, and told her what her precious angels had been doing. She didn't think her kids' behavior was problematic because that's what kids do. She then proceeded to yell at me about how awful and rude I was being. This is when my boyfriend jumped in. He made her back off with a stern, "Do not raise your voice at her ever again." Cousin has always been a bit intimidated by my boyfriend, and this shut her up. BF's parents and sister backed us up and told Cousin she should teach her kids to be kind to animals. From the way they were talking, and as my BF told me later on, this wasn't the first time Cousin's kids had attacked someone's pet. My BF's sister's dog at the time was really old, and his parents had gotten a puppy a few months earlier. The kids had been told in no uncertain terms that they were not to go near them. The rest of the weekend was a mix of fun and awkwardness. The awkwardness was due to BF's cousin, who made it a point to stare daggers at me and my pets. Thankfully, BF's parents' house is enormous, and our room and cousins' and kids' room was on different floors, so we mostly just interacted with them during meals. BF's parents have a separate room for pets. It has several beds, toys, cat tree, etc. that family members' pets can use. During our stay, all of our cats and dogs would hang out in this room, and Cousin's kids were banned from it. BF's cousin complained several times that it was just a waste to use such a large room for pets, and that it should have been a kid's room so her spawn could play in it, even though her kids had infested the rest of the house. I remember thinking, what a Karen. Over the years, this woman has lived up to this name. What a Karen. I'm glad you stood up for your pets and that your boyfriend backed you up too. Sorry they ruined your trip. Good luck with all your fur family. And our last story. Neighbors blocking our driveway. We bought a house in late 2021 with a shared driveway. Recently found out that our side is not shared. Our side of the driveway was not there when the easement was made. The driveway originally was 1 car wide at entrance that opens up to be 2 cars wide. Plenty of space to park, 3 spaces on our side, 4 on their side. We were friendly with the neighbors when we first moved in. My husband saw them outside and introduced himself and had some small talk. Problems started because they liked to park right at the end of the driveway and block the entrance. We waited a little bit for it to stop, figured since our house was vacant for 6 months prior to purchase that they might not be used to people parking there. Most of the time it was blocked, we didn't need to enter or exit, so it was about a month before we had to knock on the door and ask them politely to move their car. They moved it. A few days later I came home and it was blocked again, so I had to drive over the hill in our front yard. Luckily I had my truck because my husband's car could not have drove over the hill and parked mostly in the grass right next to their car. Passenger door blocked, but driver's wasn't, so they could still get in hopes they would take the hint that the opening is not big enough and we need access to the driveway. Later on, we were in the driveway working on a car while they had a car blocking it. They came out and asked if we needed them to move. I was trying to be nice and said, "You're okay for now, but we're going to need out soon." They moved. They kept blocking and started parking even more on our side because they didn't want to shovel snow on their side. We wrote in, I'll admit, passive-aggressive note and stuck it on their door, telling them we didn't appreciate them parking on our side and to please stop blocking us from getting in and out. That didn't work, so we got a sign that said, "Shared driveway, do not block," and put it at the end of the driveway. At this point, we attempted to contact their landlord about this issue, along with littering and trespassing issues. We received no response back. The trespassing issues got worse. We came home to their kids leaning on our car. The kids went away after we pulled in. They had guests over, so my husband waited till they left and went to knock on the door to talk to the parents. Heard people inside, no answer. Their kids would run around our front and backyard chasing each other. We left another note telling them to keep their kids off our property and then put up no trespassing signs. A few days after that, their young daughter and her friend were in our front yard completely unsupervised and moving the rocks around our tree and putting them on the sidewalk. We have cameras with alarms, so I set it off in hopes that either the kids would leave on their own or their mom would check on them. Nothing. So I had to go out there and tell the kids to please leave our yard and go back to their own. Last Thanksgiving, we were away, but our cameras barely caught their two older boys pulling chairs behind our garage. We came home, put the chairs back on their side, and the next day they tried to go back there again. Husband went out there and told them to move and told their mom what happened since she happened to be getting home at the same time. Only response was, okay. We fenced the backyard so we can't go back there anymore. They now use our front yard as a shortcut and run through it at all hours of the night. Eventually, we dug up some of our front yard and extended the opening of the driveway so that they can park at the opening and we can still get around. Somehow, they still block it. One day, there was a truck that parked on the street in front of their house where they usually park now. They automatically assumed it was ours and came banging on the door, shouting how they're going to get it towed. We didn't answer. On our way back from bringing a refrigerator home, the car that had previously blocked the driveway the week before had the driveway blocked again and street parking was full. So I was done with this stupid situation and laid on the horn for a good while and shouted for them to move their car. They came out mumbling to themselves and acting like we're the problem. They pulled the car up, but not before I had to drive all the way around the block because another car had to get through. Good news is they haven't blocked since. They also don't close their trash can lids and let trash blow all over the driveway in our yard. Not a little trash either. I'm talking about full bags of trash scattered. We were on vacation and the kids started throwing their trash that was in the driveway over our fence. Since we moved in, I've just been throwing the trash back on their side. I finally today reported them for littering, so we'll see if anything happens. Today they are outside with some guests talking about how we're Karens with the driveway. They've previously told the neighbors next to them that they can't use the driveway because of us. We're quiet neighbors that mind our own business and just want to be left alone. They're the only neighbors we've ever had a problem with. I've tried so hard to be civil and not call police. I'm giving the kids one last chance to stop trespassing. I'll call the non-emergency and have police talk to them after that. If they continue, I'm going to have no choice but to press charges. I'd fence the front yard too, but we don't have the money right now. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.